Okay, Adrian Mowat is with us, Emerging Equity Markets Strategist. Adrian, good to have you with us here. Thanks very much for your time. Are we going into a little bit of consolidation here, Adrian? Do you feel that way after the kind of rally that we've had? And what would cause it, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think in India we are going into a period of consolidation. And one of the reasons, I think, is the results season. So, India's had incredibly good economic data, strong growth, a PMI in the industrial sector that's positive, unlike most other countries. And that's led to perhaps a slightly higher expectation for results at the company level. And so with the exception of the IT space, results are either in line or a little bit disappointing. And that probably sets us up for a consolidation. And I think we might have a sort of contrasting story, perhaps with the S&P, where results have generally been better than expected, particularly as we went into the year with this recession view, which has proved to be incorrect.
What about some of the earnings that came through from the banks? Did that not impress you, Adrian? Because it's been many quarters now of solid earnings from some of these private sector banks, like ICICI Bank, for example. Do you think that could provide some leadership to the market and take it to the next leg up?
Yeah, I'd probably rank it sort of IT and then banks in terms of the leadership for the next move in the markets. But we've had some big bellwether stocks. Perhaps the sort of Reliance numbers would be indicative of that, where perhaps expectations haven't been met. And remember that we're talking about expectations against a backdrop of an equity market that's done very well, particularly with respect to the other major emerging markets.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Adrian. Good morning. But do you get a sense that global equities and maybe India as well, the Indian equity markets have run ahead of themselves? And there is, there is good reason that we should see some bit of consolidation or maybe a bit of pullback?
Yeah, look, I think there are arguments for consolidation. So we had at a macroeconomic level a very positive print with the inflation number out of the United States, which helped to sort of at macro level rally. Plus, we've had good results and we've had this hype around AI. That inflation print resulted in the DXY touching 100. And I think the dollar weakness is probably overdone. So I would suggest, and this is sort of very near-term view, is that sort of July and August, or the balance of July and into August, is going to be marked by a strengthening of the dollar. And that might conversely mean that equities either tread water or come off a little bit.
Adrian, do you believe we will get a clear signal tomorrow that this is the last hike in this current tightening cycle from the Fed?
No, I don't think we'll get a clear signal tomorrow that this is the last move. I don't expect a significant change in the Fed's language. The Fed has some good news in terms of inflation is trending lower, but it's still well above their target of 2%, whether you look at headline or core CPI. Plus, the employment data still remains very robust. So I think it's really balanced whether the Fed will move rates up twice, so once tomorrow and then again at some point over the next couple of meetings. So I would be very surprised if Powell was to reduce his flexibility by making a clear call.
Okay, so finally then, Adrian, last question from my side. The Dow has been gaining for 11, 12 sessions now, and it's been a global rally that has taken India with it, right? What should an average investor do? Do you continue to invest into markets like India, or do you take a bit of a breather now? And what would your pecking order look like in the emerging markets for the rest of the year?
Yes, it's sort of interesting that you said the Dow rather than the S&P or NASDAQ. And so that there's a broadening of the market. And as you know, the equally weighted S&P index has been a big laggard versus the market cap weighting. And what we've seen in the US market, if there has been a sort of sectoral change, it has been the financials that have been moving the market and perhaps moving the Dow. And you can see the moves that we've had in the likes of Bank of America, JP Morgan, etc. and these have been all based upon good results. So you asked me a question about, what I thought about the Indian bank results. There could be a halo effect if the rally in the US is supported by financials that helps Indian financials.
Okay, all right, we leave it at that. Thanks a lot for stopping by and speaking to CNBC TV18. Appreciate your time here. That is the word coming in from Adrian Mowat. Let's slip into a quick break. There are plenty of stocks to talk about and so many that you need to keep on your radar. So more on that coming up in a bit.